So I'm sitting here with my really good friends, Jim Stern, the godfather of web analytics, and Avinash Kaushik. Again, just a legend in web analytics. And Jim, I want to spend a few minutes chatting with you about your new book, Social Media Metrics. First question for you. Why should anyone read it when they're so busy? Why is it so important to be focusing on social media metrics?
Probably two things. First of all, social media is a given. As the web was a given in the early 90s, social media is here to stay. It's the easiest way for people to communicate, and they will use it. And you no longer control your brand. It belongs to the world. So it behooves you to pay attention and participate in that conversation. So it's a must that social media is here. You should measure it because it matters to your company and your product line, and you should read this book in particular so you can explain to your boss why you need the budget for the people. For instance, something I didn't even talk about in this book. You need to hire a community manager to manage a brand or a product line, and if you got multiple brands and multiple product lines, yes, you have to hire multiple people just to go out and be the team leader, to be the representative of the company out in social space. Us marketing people, we don't have time to do that. We're working. They have to be the social butterfly to communicate. It's really difficult to do to stay on top of things. So this book puts it in context that you can go to your boss and say, if we measure these things, then we can determine which ones we should invest in and whether or not the investment is paying off.
Now, I know Avinash is going to have a couple of questions as well. He's also read the book. But one question I have for you is, what you're seeing out there for people who are already doing some of this measurement, what are they doing wrong? What are some of the wrong things they're looking at?
Well, I think I'm going to quote a very smart guy who gave a presentation here just not too long ago. I don't remember his name, but his initials are Bryan. Eisenberg said they don't have goals. So social media is the bright, shiny new thing. It's like everybody jump in, let's have one because all of our competition has one too. But why are you going to have a Twitter account? Why are you building a fan page? What is your strategy for LinkedIn? With specific goals, now we have something to measure against. This sounds exactly like every web analytics talk I've ever given. If you know your goals, that'll tell you what your key performance indicators are, which will point to metrics, which will reveal the technology that you need to collect the data. Otherwise, it's just a lot of work, sound and fury, meaning nothing.
One of my favorite parts of the book is, of course, all the stories that you tell.
Oh, I thought you were going to say all the points where I copied and pasted from
your
book.
No, but all the stories you tell, not just of sort of big companies, but companies of all types and sizes. So I was wondering if you wanted to share one of the stories, one of your favorite stories on the book, because I really found that in many ways it makes the content of the book so much more real. Because here's somebody who did this, here's somebody who did that. And that's another great way that I can take to my boss and say, point to something that is concrete, and they'll buy it more than just saying, hey, so do you have one of the...
And Jim, you're a great storyteller, so absolutely.
Absolutely.
The stories, that's the fun thing about a book, is you can really tell a story, whereas on the hook here, so Intel did a great job of hiring people to pay attention to what folks are saying about QuickBooks and what they're saying about TurboTax. We know that we're going to get a spike in conversation as tax time approaches. We really need to measure the frustration level in that conversation, and the dedication that they had and the recognition that it was going to take effort, people, and the tools to capture that. It's a story of discovery that they walked into it saying, it's new to us, how do we do this? Well, we have the wisdom of web analytics that Avinash left behind, that Dylan Lewis is continuing. And so let's apply that rigor to this new area, and they're doing a great job of that. Here's the thing about this book, and about my idea of web analytics and the eMetrics Conference and the Web Analytics Association. Anybody can tell a story about going viral. We did this great thing, and we moved this button over here, and suddenly everybody was tweeting about it. Well, that's great, you got lucky, but that doesn't teach me anything about how I can do it. How did you measure that? What did you test? How did you test? What's the repeatable process so that I can work hard, and the harder I work, the luckier I get? So these are stories about not how important it is, not how fast it's growing, not how cool things are when you do it well, but how to tell whether it's going well.
Right. And I think you start off right with a bang, with the 100 ways in which you can measure social media.
Yeah.
If anybody doubted that this can be measurable, you start with a bang and then kind of builds on from there.
Now, Avinash, everybody looks at you as a web analytics, guru and someone who's written
don't like
so
that
much.
word.
I know we both don't like that word, except when we're talking about the drink.
Expert.
Yeah, but they look at you for all the volumes of stuff you've published about web analytics. Now, Jim's written multiple books. This is number 9 now. What did you learn from Jim's book?
Oh, the most interesting things, as I said in my endorsement of the book, is like if you want somebody who can bring years of experience and simplify this to a level that anybody can understand, that is Jim Stern. I mean, you can see his wealth of experience in it, and you can see how this is not an easy space, right? It's a complex space. It's hard for people who have grown up with traditional mental models to grasp the kind of marketing that social media is, and I think Jim makes it extremely and exceedingly simple. My favorite part, of course, was that as I kept flipping through these books, to the pages, I kept getting new ideas that I hadn't thought of before. Like, I know that I use these clump of metrics already to measure certain facets of social media, but there were new metrics and new nuances that kept getting exposed to the way, and I have them sort of banked away and say, ooh, next time I work at McDonald's, I'm going to pick on this guy, pick this little idea, or next time I work with some Procter & Gamble, I'm going to pick this idea. So my clump of metrics is much richer, and I got specific ideas that I could use, which is one of the most wonderful parts of the book.
So now,
I could sit
Jim.
here and listen to him talk about my book
Yeah.
all day long.
So Jim, so now we know why a web analytics expert would love this book. But why would the person who's listening to this want to give this to their boss so they understand social media metrics? The average person who's not so deep in this stuff.
Yeah, so don't give it to your boss, but use it to inform what you say to your boss. You give it to your boss and it'll just sit on the side table. Pull bits and pieces out of it and tell the stories. Take your boss to lunch and cover a couple of chapters at a time. It's a playbook. It's not a just hand it off thing.
So,
and actually, one good approach of this is, it is very hard for bosses to accept that, oh, here's a new shiny toy called Twitter, and then Twitter is lame in a few days, and now it's Tumblr, and it's Friendfeed, or all these new things coming up. But another thing is that the next time you think that you've run into God's gift to social media, you can use some of the ideas from the book to say, okay, this looks like we've been here before, here were the things that we measured. Maybe rather than just spewing out why here I have a new shiny object, maybe I can put some context or framework around it to say, I have a shiny object, here's how I'm going to measure success. And that kind of conversation can be enabled. I think the boss, actually, Jim, I think they will understand the book, because as I said before, it's...
Can you get them to read it, though?
Yeah,
that's the challenge.
The time, right? Because it is a simple book. It makes complicated things simple. But it's more that you say, oh, I found a shiny object. I'm going to do the things around the shiny object to make it appealing to my boss.
So Jim, 15 more seconds. One of the key things to optimizing conversion rates, I always tell people, is provide unique value propositions. So what is the unique value proposition of social media metrics, how to measure and optimize your marketing investment?
It is measurable. It must be measured. And this, simplifies it. Thank you. And just puts it in context. It discusses social media from a business value perspective.
Terrific. Thank you so much for the time, guys.
Thank
you, Bryan.